Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you love captivating stories about men transforming into women in unique and fascinating ways, then be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Now, let's jump right into today's tale.
If there was one thing Gary, the Grizzly McKenna, was good at, it was being a man's man. He could grill a steak, fix a carburetor, and belch the theme from Star Wars on command. At 42, he'd cultivated a reputation among his buddies as the guy who never backed down from a challenge. The same buddies who, apparently, thought it would be hilarious to gift him a luxury spa package for his birthday. "For your stress levels," Mike had said, smirking as he handed over the gift certificate with a pink ribbon. "Because your wound tighter than my ex-wife's face after Botox," chuckled Dave. Gary had laughed along, figuring he'd take the free foot rub, endure a mud mask, and get out with his dignity and masculinity intact. Maybe even score some points with Cindy from accounting, who was always going on about self-care. He pulled his pickup into the parking lot of the Fountain of Youth Spa and Wellness Emporium, wincing at the cursive neon sign that glowed like a cotton candy explosion. The place was sandwiched between a yoga studio and a crystal shop in the part of town Gary usually avoided, the part where men carried tiny dogs and discussed their feelings. 2 hours, he muttered to himself, checking his watch. "I'll be back on my couch watching the game in 2 hours. The door chimed as he entered, and Gary immediately felt out of place. His flannel shirt and work boots stood in stark contrast to the flowing fountains, ambient music, and what appeared to be at least 12 different types of incense burning simultaneously. "Welcome to Fountain of Youth," said a willowy woman in flowing silk robes, gliding toward him like she was on invisible wheels. "I am Mistress Jade. I channel the rejuvenating energy of the ancients." Gary's eyebrows shot up, disappearing beneath his unruly hair. "Does that come with a cold beer?" Mistress Jade didn't miss a beat. "We offer kombucha and activated charcoal water." She smiled, her eyes twinkling with something that made Gary inexplicably nervous. "But I sense you're a man who appreciates transformation." "Lady, I appreciate a good steak and a football game. This," Gary gestured around, "is my buddy's idea of a joke. Often the universe delivers what we need through unexpected channels," Mistress Jade said, leading him past bubbling fountains where stone cherubs with knowing smirks poured water from tiny jugs. A younger woman in similar flowing garments approached. "Is this our special appointment?" she asked, studying Gary with undisguised curiosity. "Indeed, Serenity, Mr. McKenna is here for our rebirth ritual." Mistress Jade turned to Gary. "Serenity will be assisting today, along with Harmony." "Of course those are their names," Gary muttered under his breath. "I heard that," Mistress Jade said, her lips curving upward. "Cynicism is the first toxin we'll be purging today." They led him through a labyrinth of hallways decorated with at least 3 Buddha statues that all seemed to be smirking at him, past rooms where other clients lay in various states of relaxation. "We have a special treatment today, Mr. McKenna," Mistress Jade cooed, stopping before a door adorned with strange symbols. "Our rebirth ritual, you'll feel like a whole new person." "Can't argue with that," Gary snorted, trying to mask his growing discomfort with bravado. "Do I need to take my shoes off?" "Everything off, please." Mistress Jade handed him a silky robe that felt too smooth against his calloused fingers. "The ritual works best when there are no barriers between you and the cosmic energies." She winked, and Gary could have sworn the temperature in the hallway rose several degrees. "Right, cosmic energies." Gary took the robe, looking around for a changing room. "Through there," Mistress Jade pointed to a bamboo door. "Take your time. The universe is patient, even if Harmony isn't." In the changing room, Gary hesitated before stripping down. "This is ridiculous," he told his reflection. The mirror showed a burly man with a 5 o'clock shadow and perpetually furrowed brows. He'd been called the Grizzly since high school, partly for his build, partly for his temperament. "I could be fixing my Chevy right now." Still, a deal was a deal, and Gary McKenna never welched on a challenge. He hung his clothes neatly, a habit from his military days, and slipped on the robe, which barely covered his thighs. "Perfect," he grumbled, trying to tug it lower. When he emerged, Serenity was waiting. You look nervous, she observed. Many men are their first time. I'm not nervous, Gary lied. Just wondering what rebirth means in spa lingo. Serenity's smile was enigmatic. Everyone's rebirth is different. The treatment connects with your deepest self. My deepest self wants a cheeseburger, Gary said, but followed her into a dimly lit room. A few minutes later, Gary found himself lying on a heated marble table, wearing only the robe, surrounded by flickering candles and clouds of lavender steam. Crystals hung from the ceiling, catching the light and throwing rainbow patterns across the walls. He was pretty sure his testosterone levels were dropping just by breathing the air. Mistress Jade entered, followed by Serenity and another young woman, Harmony, he presumed, carrying various bottles and jars. So, what exactly happens in a rebirth ritual? Gary asked, trying to sound casual while mentally calculating how fast he could get dressed and escape if things got too weird. The ritual allows your essence to shift and realign, Mistress Jade said, mixing oils in a stone bowl, to experience life from new perspectives. Right, Gary said skeptically, and how exactly does that work? Harmony, a petite woman with striking green eyes, laughed softly. He thinks we're going to turn him into a frog mistress. Not a frog, Mistress Jade said, her eyes twinkling, though that would be simpler. Gary raised an eyebrow. That was a joke, right? Let's begin, Mistress Jade said, ignoring his question. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Allow yourself to release expectations. The only expectation I'm releasing is getting out of here with my dignity, Gary muttered, but he closed his eyes anyway. Something about Mistress Jade's voice made it hard to disobey. Mistress Jade and her two assistants began by massaging a strange, tingling oil into his skin. It smelled of vanilla, mint, and something else he couldn't quite place. A little sweet, a little spicy, and somehow magical. What's in this stuff? Gary asked, his voice already sounding strangely distant to his own ears. Ancient wisdom, Mistress Jade murmured, her fingers working the oil into his shoulders. Essence of moonlight, Serenity added, massaging his arms. Sexual tension and irony, Harmony said with a smirk, working on his legs. Gary would have rolled his eyes if they weren't already closed. Very funny, but seriously, it feels weird. The sensation is the energy realigning, Mistress Jade explained. Your body is remembering all the forms it might have taken. The changes started subtly. At first, Gary just felt relaxed, really relaxed. Then, the tingling picked up, almost like his entire body was fizzing, like he'd been dunked in champagne. Whoa, Gary mumbled. That's intense. His voice sounded strange and his ears lighter somehow. He opened his eyes and looked down at his arms as they shrank beneath his gaze, muscle melting away not like fat disappearing, but like clay being reshaped. His forearms slimmed, the thick veins receding beneath skin that was rapidly becoming smoother, softer. The coarse dark hair on his forearms thinned, then vanished entirely, leaving nothing but a glossy, even sheen. His hands shrank, fingers getting delicate, longer in proportion to his palm, nails lengthening and shaping themselves into neat, pink ovals. What the? Gary croaked, sitting up, except his voice was already higher, softer, with a musical lilt that belonged to someone else entirely. What's happening to me? Mistress Jade placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, her touch sending new waves of tingling through his changing body. The ritual is just beginning. Relax and let the energies flow. But I'm changing. Gary's panic was rising, but oddly muted, as if wrapped in cotton candy. Into what you need to experience, Mistress Jade said calmly. The universe has chosen your path today. Serenity and Harmony continued applying the oil, their movements synchronized, almost hypnotic. Most people just get smoother skin and fewer wrinkles, Harmony noted with a grin. You must have very interesting karma. Gary's chest tingled, then fluttered. He felt a warmth spreading across his pectorals, followed by a strange lightness, then a pulling sensation as if gravity had suddenly taken a special interest in that part of his anatomy. He watched in awe and a bit of horror as his pectorals swelled, rounding out and rising gently with each breath. Holy hell, he gasped, feeling the weight of them shift as he moved. There, I'm growing. Breasts, Serenity supplied helpfully. Quite lovely ones, actually. Before his eyes, his chest filled out the robe in ways it had never done before, becoming two soft, warm, undeniable breasts. The sensation was like 1,000 tiny bubbles beneath the skin, tickling and stretching until everything settled into a new, curvy equilibrium. "This can't be real," Gary whispered, even as his voice climbed another octave. He touched his chest tentatively, then jerked his hand away as if burned. The sensitivity was overwhelming. "Oh, it's very real," Mistress Jade assured him, "and it's just beginning." His shoulders narrowed, bones actually shifting with a strange, painless grinding sensation, collarbones becoming more pronounced, neck lengthening and growing slender. He felt his jaw and cheekbones shift, face softening as if sculpted by invisible hands. His nose shrank a touch, becoming more petite and slightly upturned. His lips plumped and tingled, eyelashes swept out luxuriously, and eyebrows arched into elegant curves. "Your face is catching up with the rest of you," Harmony observed, tilting her head. "The bone structure is quite striking." "Like a classic screen siren," Serenity agreed, with just a touch of mischief in the eyes. Gary's hands flew to his face, fingers exploring the new contours. His skin felt impossibly soft, jawline delicate, cheekbones high. "My beard," he said, running fingers over a smooth cheek. "It's gone." "All your facial hair has been reallocated," Mistress Jade said cryptically. As if on cue, Gary felt a tickling sensation at his scalp. He reached up and encountered a cascade of silky hair, growing longer by the second, spilling over his shoulders in luscious waves. What color is it?" Gary asked, his new voice trembling. "A beautiful chestnut brown," Mistress Jade told him, "with subtle auburn highlights, very natural." The changes moved downward, and Gary felt his waist compress, stomach flattening, and hips widening with a gentle but insistent pressure. It was as if two invisible hands were shaping him like clay. His waist pinched in, creating an hourglass figure, hips blossomed out, and his behind rounded and lifted, stretching the robe until it barely covered anything at all. "I feel like I'm being poured into a new container," Gary said, the sensation both alarming and strangely exhilarating. "An apt description," Mistress Jade nodded. "Your essence remains, but the vessel is transforming." His legs lengthened, thighs plumping and smoothing, calves curving into elegant arcs, while his feet shrank and arched, toes wriggling in delight at their newfound daintiness. The tingling sensation reached his groin, and Gary felt a pulling, tucking sensation that made him gasp. "Oh my God," she whispered, feeling the profound rearrangement of anatomy. "Everything's gone inside." "Not gone," Harmony corrected with clinical precision. "Inverted and transformed, the same nerve endings, just rearranged." Gary sat up, robe gaping, and stared at his reflection in a nearby gilded mirror. Gone was Gary the Grizzly. In his place was, well, he wasn't sure what her name should be, but she was drop-dead gorgeous. Silky hair, now a chestnut waterfall, tumbled over smooth shoulders. Her skin glowed with a dewy freshness, lips glistened a natural pink, eyes still his hazel eyes, but larger, framed by thick lashes, sparkled with confusion and a hint of mischief. She touched her own cheek, marveling at the softness. "Holy," she began, then clapped a delicate hand over her mouth at the sound of her voice, melodic, slightly husky, undeniably feminine. "Is that my voice?" "It is now," Mistress Jade smiled, handing her a compact mirror. "See for yourself, Rebirth as promised." Gary, no, that name didn't fit anymore, took the compact with slightly trembling hands and examined her face in detail. The features were completely transformed, yet somehow familiar, like meeting a cousin you never knew you had. High cheekbones, a small nose with a slight upward tilt, full lips that naturally curved into a slight smile, and those eyes, still his eyes, but now framed by arched brows and long lashes. "I look like my sister," she said wonderingly, "if I had one." "The transformation often follows genetic pathways," Mistress Jade explained. "This is how you might have looked had your chromosomes aligned differently at birth." She struggled for words. "Gorgeous," Serenity supplied. "Stunning, actually." "A solid 9, Harmony added with professional assessment. "Maybe a 9.5. The woman who had been Gary stood up, wobbled really, feeling the unfamiliar weight on her chest and the sway in her hips. Walking was a new adventure. Every step was a study in balance, her center of gravity completely rearranged. Her thighs brushed together, her hips swung, and she found herself instinctively straightening her posture and flipping her hair. Careful, Serenity steadied her with a hand at her elbow. New bodies take some getting used to. You're telling me, she replied, taking another tentative step. It's like learning to walk on a boat. Everything moves. She caught sight of herself in the full-length mirror and nearly fainted. The robe, already small on Gary's frame, was positively indecent now, barely covering the essentials of her new anatomy. She was tall for a woman, maybe 58, with long legs, a tiny waist, and curves that wouldn't quit. If my bowling league sees me now, they'll never let me live it down, she said, then laughed at the musical sound. Or maybe they'll all ask for my number. You should try a few moves, Harmony suggested. Get used to your new body. She tried a few experimental moves. A pirouette nearly toppled, a sultry hair toss nailed it, a wink surprisingly natural. The feel of silky hair on her neck, the way her skin tingled with every movement, and the unfamiliar but not unpleasant bounce in her step made her grin despite herself. This is insane, she said, but couldn't help laughing. I've got boobs, and they're really nice ones. They're proportional to your frame, Mistress Jade said matter-of-factly. The transformation is always harmonious. So I'm just supposed to walk out of here like this, she asked, gesturing to her new body. I can't exactly drive home in this robe. Of course not, Mistress Jade replied, opening a wardrobe that definitely hadn't been in the room before. We provide a complete experience. She pulled out a silky emerald dress, holding it up. This should complement your coloring nicely. You've got to be kidding me, the transformed woman said, but found herself reaching for the dress anyway. I don't even know how to put that on. Step in, zip up, adjust, Harmony said simply. Women's clothing isn't rocket science. Says you, she muttered, but took the dress behind a privacy screen in the corner. Shedding the robe, she avoided looking down at her new body too closely. That was a mental crisis for another moment. The dress slid cool and smooth over her skin, hugging curves she'd never had before. She fumbled with the zipper, finally managing to pull it up most of the way. A little help, she called out. Serenity came around the screen and finished the zipper. You look stunning, she said. Green is definitely your color. Stepping out, she faced the mirror again and blinked in astonishment. The dress fit perfectly, highlighting every new curve. How did you know my size? The transformation and the wardrobe are connected, Mistress Jade said cryptically. The universe provides. The universe has good taste, she admitted, turning to see the back view. But I still don't understand how this happened or why. Some questions don't have simple answers, Mistress Jade replied. But perhaps you needed to see the world from a different perspective. I needed to grow breasts and lose my, she stopped, gesturing vaguely downward. That wasn't on my bucket list. And yet here you are, Mistress Jade smiled, embracing it rather well, I might add. She couldn't deny it. After the initial shock, there was something exhilarating about the transformation. Every sensation was new, every movement a discovery. She felt lighter, more graceful, and strangely, powerful. How long does this last? She asked, running her hands over the silk dress, marveling at how sensitive her skin had become. Until sunrise, Mistress Jade replied. Unless, of course, you decide you like it. And if I do, she asked, surprising herself with the question. The universe has ways of accommodating our true desires, was the enigmatic answer. I should probably have a name, right? She mused, studying herself in the mirror. I can't exactly go by Gary looking like this. What feels right? Serenity asked. She thought for a moment. Gabrielle, she decided. Close enough to remember who I was, different enough to fit who I am right now. Gabrielle it is, Mistress Jade nodded approvingly. A beautiful name for a beautiful transformation. Harmony approached with a small makeup bag and a pair of heels. Final touches. Gabrielle eyed the heels warily. I can barely walk as it is. You'll manage, Harmony said confidently. Your body knows what to do, even if your mind is still catching up. 20 minutes later, Gabrielle stood transformed not just in body, but in presentation. Harmony had applied minimal makeup. You don't need much with that skin, and coached her through the basics of walking in heels. The shoes added another 3 inches to her height, making her legs look even longer and forcing her to sway her hips with each step. "So what am I supposed to do now?" Gabrielle asked, practicing walking across the room without toppling. "I had plans to watch the game at Dave's place." "Perhaps you still can," Mistress Jade suggested with a sly smile. "I imagine it would be quite educational." Gabrielle let out a laugh. "Show up looking like this, Dave would have a heart attack." She paused, considering. Actually, that might be worth it just to see his face. "The night is yours to explore," Mistress Jade said. "You have a new perspective, a new appearance, and about 12 hours to experience the world differently." Gabrielle grinned, feeling more alive than she ever had. A strange confidence was building inside her with each passing minute, as if her new body came with its own instruction manual that was slowly downloading into her consciousness. "Well, if anyone needs me, I'll be at the bar, confusing the hell out of my friends and absolutely dominating karaoke night." She flipped her hair and practiced a flirtatious smile in the mirror. "I've always wanted to try singing. Man, I feel like a woman anyway." "Just remember," Mistress Jade said as Gabrielle gathered a small purse they'd provided. "The transformation is physical, but the experience is what matters." "Oh, I'm going to experience plenty," Gabrielle promised, testing her walk one more time and finding it much improved. Starting with ordering a fruity cocktail without feeling judged. And with that, she sashayed toward the door, each step more confident than the last, ready to experience the world from a brand new, utterly fabulous perspective. "We'll see you tomorrow for your follow-up appointment," Mistress Jade called after her. "The universe may have more surprises in store." Gabrielle just laughed, the sound musical and carefree. "Bring it on," she said over her shoulder. Gary the Grizzly never backs down from a challenge.